You know, when most of us hear OCD, we probably picture someone washing their hands over and over, or constantly checking if the door is locked. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're diving into a form of OCD that has no visible signs at all. A silent, exhausting battle that's fought entirely inside someone's mind. This question, it just hits you, right? It's from Chrissy Hodge's book, and it gets right to the absolute core of this experience. It's that feeling of profound confusion, of being at war with your own mind, and wondering what you did to deserve this kind of punishment.
So that's what we're going to do today. We're pulling back the curtain on this hidden struggle. We're going to explore what these internal battles are actually like, why they happen in the first place, and, most importantly, how people find their way out of the fear.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the name. You'll hear this condition called pure O, which is short for purely obsessional. But as you're about to see, that name is actually, well, it's completely wrong. Here's the most important thing you need to get. There is no such thing as pure obsession. There is always a compulsion. The big difference here is that with pure O, the compulsions aren't things you can see, like checking or cleaning. They're invisible rituals that happen completely inside your head. And you can really see the difference laid out here. On the left, you've got the stereotype we all know, fear of germs with visible compulsions. But look at the right. The obsessions are so much more personal and, honestly, terrifying. Fears about who you are as a person. And the compulsions? They're totally hidden. Things like mentally replaying conversations, trying to prove to yourself that you're a good person, or trying to cancel out a bad thought with a good one. So, how does this whole engine work? What are these invisible rituals, really? And what's driving this relentless, exhausting cycle? Let's pop the hood and take a look.
I absolutely love this quote from Edgar Allan Poe. It's used to describe something called the imp of the mind. Think of it like this little gremlin in your brain that whispers the absolute worst, most inappropriate thing you could possibly do or think in any situation. It's not a real desire, it's the total opposite. It's the brain's what-if button getting stuck, and that's the little spark that starts the whole fire.
And here's that cycle in action. Step 1. The imp drops a horrible thought into your head. Your brain's alarm system goes haywire, flooding you with intense anxiety because it can't tell it's a false alarm. So, to get rid of that awful feeling, you do a mental compulsion. And here's the trap. It works. For a little bit. That tiny moment of relief teaches your brain, hey, that ritual saved us. And that just makes the whole cycle spin even faster next time. You know, this vicious cycle leads to one of the most painful parts of this condition, the terrible meaning people start to believe about their own thoughts. So right now, we're going to take a sledgehammer to some of the biggest and most damaging myths out there. This is the question. It just eats away at people. The thoughts can be so disturbing, so against everything a person stands for, that they can't help but wonder, deep down, is this who I really am?
Let me be absolutely crystal clear here. The answer is a hard no. There's a clinical term for this, ego dystonic. It means these thoughts are the complete polar opposite of your actual values. In fact, OCD is smart. It specifically targets what you care about the most. A loving mother has thoughts of harming her child. A deeply religious person has blasphemous thoughts. The fact that these thoughts cause you so much pain isn't a sign that you're a monster. It's the ultimate proof that you're not.
And that's the big paradox, isn't it? If these thoughts are so fake and unwanted, why do they feel so incredibly real? Why do they feel so urgent, like a genuine threat that's happening right now? Well, the reason comes down to a tricky glitch in our thinking called thought-action fusion. Basically, the brain gets confused and starts to believe that thinking a bad thought is just as bad as doing the bad thing. Or it thinks that just having the thought makes it more likely to actually happen. It's this faulty connection that gives that false alarm its terrifying sense of urgency. And let's just quickly bust two more huge myths. First, this idea that you should be able to control your thoughts. Just no. Trying to push a thought away is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more powerfully it's going to shoot back up. And second, the myth that only messed up people have weird thoughts. The truth? Everybody has them. Seriously. The difference with OCD isn't the thought, it's the terrified, high-stakes reaction to it. Okay, so if fighting the thoughts just makes them stronger, what on earth are you supposed to do? This brings us to the path to recovery. And it sounds kind of crazy, but it's all about turning around and walking towards the fear, not running away from it. The absolute gold standard treatment for OCD is called exposure and response prevention, or ERP.
The idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You deliberately, on purpose, expose yourself to the thoughts that scare you. But, and this is the whole game, you stop yourself from doing the ritual, from doing the compulsion. You just sit with the anxiety. You break the cycle.
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, if your fear is a thought, you can't exactly go out into the world and find it. So how do you do exposure when the enemy is inside your own mind? The answer is something called imaginal exposure, and it's an amazingly powerful tool. Essentially, you work with a therapist to write out scripts or make recordings describing your worst fears in vivid detail. And then you listen to them or read them over and over and over again. You willingly step into the nightmare until your brain finally gets the message that it's just a story, it's not a threat. The alarm bells stop ringing so loudly.
And this right here might be the biggest mindset shift of all. The goal of treatment isn't to get a perfectly quiet, empty mind where bad thoughts never appear again. That's impossible for any human being. The real goal is to change your relationship with those thoughts, to get to a place where they can just drift by without hooking you and ruining your day.
And that brings us to our last section. What does life on the other side even look like? Well, it's not about finally getting all the answers. It's about learning to live a full, rich life even when you don't have them. It's about embracing uncertainty.
This phrase, it seems so small, doesn't it? But for someone with OCD, saying this is like a revolutionary act. The disorder screams for 100% certainty, a guarantee that nothing bad will happen. Responding with maybe, maybe not, well, that's how you tell the OCD that you're not playing its impossible game anymore.
So yeah, recovery isn't about winning some epic war against your thoughts. It's more like calling a truce. It's the freedom to know that, sure, weird thoughts might pop in now and then, but they don't get to be in the driver's seat anymore. They don't get to stop you from living.
Get this. Here's a final, really cool piece of neuroscience. A brain scientist named Dr. Jill Bull Taylor figured out that the actual chemical lifespan of an emotion in your body, if you don't keep feeding it with thoughts, is only about 90 seconds. That huge spike of anxiety feels like it's going to kill you. But if you can just ride it out for a minute and a half without doing a compulsion, it will pass. You can survive it.
And that's really what it all comes down to, isn't it? Maybe the ultimate goal isn't to silence that imp of the mind forever. Maybe freedom is just learning to hear its whispers for what they are, random brain noise, and choosing, instead, to listen to the voice of who you really want to be. It's about taking your power back.